Live from my office, it's the Bill and Corey Show. I'm Bill.
And I'm Corey.
Yeah, we have a different studio today. Our Icebox studio is under construction. They're making some renovations on it. So we're going to be in my office today. So hope you enjoy. First question we're going to talk about is the customer is interested in a diaphragm valve on the outlet of an LPHF regulator. Okay. We've shown this before as our LPHF regulator. It's for laser applications. It's a dome assist regulator. It's kind of big there. This has a very flat flow curve. It's got a lot of F's there.
Yes.
What that means is there's not much droop. So if you get hot, if you set the pressure for 400 psi static and you start flowing, it's going to stay pretty close to 400, independent on what flow you have going through this thing. Most regulators, you'll see the delivery pressure drop when the flow increases, but this one doesn't do that, and that's for high pressure laser applications. Now this has extremely high flow rate, and our diaphragm, our half-inch diaphragm valve, has a C sub V of 0.3. So this is going to severely restrict your flow rate. We don't suggest you using that unless you really don't need the high flow. If you really want a valve on the outlet, we don't really stock those valves. I would suggest you go to Swage Lock. You could either use a half-inch ball valve. Make sure it's rated for the pressures that you're using. Or you can go with, I just pulled this out of our mass flow lab, so it's got some extra fittings on here. But this is a Swage Lock, has some high pressure needle valves and big ones. So you could use something like this to control the flow, the meter to flow, if you need to do that for the regulator. So there's that. Here's a question. I am looking for an inline filter for a liquid CO2 refrigeration system. I was wondering if you had any products that you would recommend. Let me know. Probably only needs to be 100 micron. Now let me explain. 100 micron, a lot of people call boulder catchers because it's really kind of, it's really not. It's your large particles. So Corey, this question's for you.
Yeah, so unfortunately we do not deal in liquid CO2 in
cryogenic
applications. Yeah. And so we do not have a filter for that, but we do have a range of filters that I would like to go through with you guys right now. I'm going to start off with our 450B filter. It's in a box and we don't want to break the seal, but this is a picture of it. I printed it out so people would know it. This one comes with different cartridges that you can put on. It comes with 4 different cartridges. This one is the type 453, which is for removal of particles, which is this question's asking about, above 12 microns. So much lower than the 100 microns. And it also has a oil and water removal cartridge, just a water removal cartridge, and an activated charcoal cartridge that is for removing acetone and acetylene. Now, the big things about these filters is the temperature range and the pressures that they can do. This one in particular can do -40 Fahrenheit to 165, and its max pressure is 2,000 psig. Oxygen is only 500 psig. So this is our 450B filter. And let's see which one this one we grab. This is the 6187 filter. This one is a high pressure filter. It is typically you can put this between the cylinder and the regulator in order to, it helps with your regulator lasting longer. Most regulators do have a filter in them, but this will pre-filter it so it doesn't clog up the filter.
Yeah, what's the pressure rating on that?
2,500 psig.
Yeah, so you want to be careful about that because some regulators, you got 2,400 psi regulators, you got some that are up to 2,640, so we don't want to use that and use this filter in that application. But it can, like you said, it can be used at 2,500 psi. So
yes,
and then that has a, what's the micron level on that one?
Micron level on this one is 0.2.
Yeah, so that's really small.
It's really small. And the temperature for this one is 350 Fahrenheit. It can go up to.
Probably don't want to touch it.
No, it's probably, yeah, definitely. Hopefully it turns red, do you think, to warn people?
I don't know.
This is the 6164 filter. This one comes in a bunch of variations. It comes 6124, 6134, and 6164. Depending on which one is sort of the size of it, it ranges from 1/4 inch inlets to all the way up to 1/2 inch inlets. And it has a 0.2 micron filter. It comes with pipe thread, swage locks, VCR, VCO connections, and each one has varying flow rates depending on the size you get, ranging from 30 SLPM all the way up to 1,000 SLPM. And it has a 0 to 165 F temperature range and a 250 PSIG max. And this is the 6190 filter. This one is a 0.2 micron filter, so another really small filter. 1,000 PSIG.
0.02.
0.02, I'm
So
sorry.
it's even smaller.
It's even smaller, 0.02. I misspoke there.
Yeah.
This is for typically non-corrosive semiconductor gases. It goes up to 1,000 PSIG, 100 Fahrenheit max, and a 250 SLPM max flow rate.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and it comes with a 1/4 inch swage or VCR nails. And then finally, this is our filter for our
Laser Pro
Laser
system.
Pro system. This is a big guy. Comes with a 1/2 inch inlet outlet, 2,000 PSIG, and it has a 16 SCFM flow rate, so very high, and it has a 75 to 100 micron filter in it,
So
which
it's a
would be a
boulder
boulder catcher, as you so lovingly called them.
And that is, as you can see, this regulator is gonna flow much higher. I don't have the flow rate memorized. So that is gonna at 16 CFM, that's gonna slow down your flow.
Yeah.
And that's rated for 2,000 PSI.
2,000
So it's
PSI.
like a downstream thing.
And all of these regulators are for non-corrosive gases, but but always double check to ask, and we can double check to find out if the gas is compatible with if it's a strange, exotic gas. We always check to see if it is compatible with the filter.
Okay. Now with filters, what can you tell me over the lifetime of a filter when it starts to get clogged?
When the filter starts to get clogged, that's when it works its best because it filters out even more stuff.
Yeah, all the little particles cram in there, and it just even in much better.
When it stops flow, that means the filter is working at 100% efficiency.
And
Not letting anything through.
in some applications, I've seen in big bulk systems where they have like 4-inch filters, 4-inch lines coming into a filter. They'll put gauges before and after, and they'll monitor the pressure, and they'll see when you start to get an unacceptable pressure drop, then you know it's time to change out your filter.
Big cone filters inside the pipe.
Oh yeah, you
Yeah. I used to work with those filters.
Okay, so that's that. So we've got, I recently purchased a 3128 dual stage regulator. Looks like this, it is this. Brass, will it fit on a nitrogen dewar? Yes, it does. I went out there and tried it. We have some nitrogen dewars here. I tried it out. Of course, it'll fit. Some explanation on that. Your liquid dewars have different outlets on there. It has a gas use outlet, and for a nitrogen dewar, it'll have a CGA 580 connection, just like a cylinder valve. So you can install the regulator on there, and the fitting is extended out near the sometimes past the ring, the protective ring around the dewar. No, we couldn't bring a dewar in here to show you. A little too big. And it sometimes is recessed a little bit, but you can put it on there comfortably. Now, I want to talk a little bit about dual stage regulators, because this is while we have it here, our regulators, if you look at our regulators for regular people video, it's a very popular video, talks about the porting of the regulator, and they're marked. Most of the regulators are marked. You got an L for low, which will be on this side, and it'll be H for high. And then for dual stage regulator, there's an I for interstage. Well, this regulator has 6 ports. So it's got your high pressure port coming in, you got your low pressure ports on the outside, and then down at the bottom, you've got interstage port, which is kind of on the high pressure side, and a low pressure point here. And in the interstage, dual stage regulator. So the interstage pressure is typically around 300 PSI. And what the customer did is they wanted to have the regulator, well, you're looking at it, not I'm, they wanted to have the regulator flow in this direction from the manifold. And they didn't want the gauges upside down. They wanted them on top. So they just took the gauges out and they put them up top. And then they're complaining that, so they took this high pressure gauge, which reads cylinder pressure, they put it in the interstage port. And then they put this low pressure gauge in this, it's a low pressure port, so that's fine. They're complaining that the high pressure port gauge was not reading properly. And that's because it wasn't. It was reading properly, it was just reading 300 PSI. So when you're at on this kind of gauge, 300 PSI is way down here. And you're talking at that pressure with the gauges at that range of the gauge, it's plus or minus 100 PSI accuracy of the gauge. So it could even look like it was reading 200 PSI. Almost nothing. So that's, yeah, so they kind of messed up on that. And you got to be careful if you got regulators about swapping things around. We don't suggest you doing it. It happened, we've had people, multiple occasions, different regulators, change the ports around and not have it work. So you have to be real careful about that.
Quick question for you.
Yeah.
Would you use a dual stage regulator on a dewar?
That's a good question. Yes, yes, it's a good question. There's really no need to use it on a dewar. The dewar is going to be, you could have a 230 PSI dewar, you could have 350 PSI dewar, and the interstage is about 300 PSI. So it's kind of...
You wouldn't use it on the 230 though.
No, even with the 350,
okay,
there's really no need to use it on a dewar.
Yeah, no, there isn't.
Yeah, because it's...
well, I'm saying the 230 wouldn't even pass through it wouldn't even get through the interstage though.
Right, and this one, it's kind of, the interstage could be 300, 350, so it's really not doing anything. And then dewars also, they're going to pretty much stay at that pressure around the 350 PSI dewar will stay around 300, 350 PSI. And then when it goes liquid empty, then it's going to start to collapse. Yeah, you're just going to be sucking the vapor off the top, and then the pressure is going to go down. And you know what? You need to swap out dewars by that time. So people do buy dual stage regulators. They just like them, and they use them for applications like on a dewar or on a liquid cylinder. And you really don't need to use dual stage regulators on cryogenic dewars or liquid cylinders. But if you want to use it, that's fine. And that's all the questions we have for this week. Next week, we're going to have a special Friday edition of the Bill and Corey Show because I'm on vacation on Thursday, and we want to fit in a show next week. So it'll be a special Friday edition.
So this time, set your VCRs for Friday at 10 a.m.